Okay, let's unpack this. We've looked at some ambitious technological projects before. I mean, efforts to extend life, to expand civilization beyond Earth. But today, we are diving into a mission that attempts to capture something far less tangible.
And maybe even more fundamentally human.
Exactly. Wisdom itself. We are looking deep into the structure and philosophy of SaveWisdom.org.
It's not just an ambitious project. I mean, it is a monumental endeavor, and it's all rooted in this idea that humanity is currently sitting on a massive, largely untapped resource,
Which is what?
the accumulated insight of 8 billion lives. The mission we're exploring today is, well, it's nothing short of safeguarding the collective knowledge, the experience, the unique cognitive footprint of every single human being on Earth before that knowledge is just lost.
And the goal is clear, but the method they're proposing is pretty extraordinary. Their ultimate goal isn't just to save data, like a massive hard drive of historical records. It's to save the very essence of humanity.
The lessons learned.
Yeah, the lessons learned through struggle, through triumph, through reflection. So the central question guiding our deep dive, and really the core challenge this project addresses, is this. Is it truly possible to capture the raw, core essence of a human being's accumulated knowledge and wisdom and preserve it forever?
The founder, Brian Roemmel, and the Save Wisdom Project, they believe it's not only possible, but it's an imperative. They state their declaration of mission right up front. It's dedicated to the preservation and safeguarding of human knowledge and wisdom.
Okay.
But the truly revolutionary part is the core tenet behind it. It's this unwavering, almost democratic belief that every individual possesses wisdom of profound value.
Regardless of who they are.
Exactly. Regardless of their age, their job, their position in life, it completely challenges the traditional idea of what a valuable historical record even is.
That inclusivity, that changes the scale entirely. It moves this from, some elite academic thing to a global, accessible mandate. We're not just talking about preserving the memoirs of a handful of recognized leaders or scientists. We're talking about acknowledging the priceless experiential value held by the mechanic, the retired teacher, the farmer, the grandparent.
Everyone who has navigated the complexity of a lifetime.
Yeah.
And, the stakes are just immense when you really think about human history.
How so?
Precisely because this whole effort is driven by the realization that history is, well, it's haunted by the specter of amnesia. Civilizations fall, libraries burn.
And then we just forget.
We forget. And generations spend so much energy relearning basic truths, moral lessons that a previous generation had already figured out, but they failed to pass it on effectively. This project is trying to banish that specter, to offer an eternal legacy.
And to do that, to achieve that kind of scale and permanence, they've had to come up with a method that is both deeply personal and intensely technological. Can you give us the overview of the protocol? Because this is where the philosophy really meets the machine.
Okay, so the approach centers on this idea of radical self-sovereignty and exhaustive self-documentation. Individuals are empowered to record their own stories, their own insights, by answering up to 1,000 highly curated questions.
1,000, that's a lot.
It is. And it's recorded exclusively in their own voice. And here is the critical initial technical requirement. All recording must use secure, offline audio recording devices.
So no cloud, no internet connection while you're doing it.
None. The output is a profound, personalized treasure built on this journey of self-discovery, and it's designed initially just for yourself and for your loved ones.
That sets the stage for a really fascinating exploration. Let's start by focusing on the why, the philosophical foundation, this idea that personal wisdom is just invaluable.
This is the emotional and intellectual foundation. I mean, the whole project is built on the unwavering belief that every story, every unique cognitive narrative, every voice is just fundamentally deserving of preservation.
They're not just defining wisdom as intelligence or, a collection of facts.
Not at all.
Yeah.
They see it as the culmination of experiences, the synthesis of triumphs, the lessons you learn through failure, the moral calculus you apply throughout a life. It is quite literally the essence of who we are as individuals, distilled through reflection.
And that focus on inclusivity, we can't overstate that. When we talk about 8 billion sources of wisdom, we are really challenging the traditional historical hierarchy.
Totally.
It means that the specialized knowledge of how to operate a complex machine or the deep patience required to raise a troubled child, all of that is placed on the same preservation pedestal as the findings of a Nobel laureate.
It completely democratizes the historical record and really the concept of intelligence itself. The project emphasizes that regardless of your education, your financial status, your position, Every single human being has a unique wellspring of insights and practical knowledge worth cherishing.
I mean, just imagine the depth of insights held by someone who spent 70 years mastering a specific trade, a cooper, a master weaver, a small business owner who navigated multiple recessions.
All of that experiential knowledge is usually just lost completely. This project provides a structure to actually capture it.
Which leads directly to the power of the core mechanism, the emotional resonance of this testimony. Capturing this isn't about generating a cold data file. It's about capturing the full essence of a person's life,
Yeah.
including all that emotional context.
Right, because the process of answering these 1,000 questions, which we'll get into more detail on, it's an intensely personal journey of introspection. The source material is very clear. This is not a dry process.
No.
It's designed to surface the full range of human emotions. People record their stories, detailing their laughter, their deepest tears, their quietly whispered wisdom. The intensity comes from the fact that the questions demand honesty about moments of vulnerability, moments of peak joy, those ethical crossroads we all face.
So the act of recording itself becomes this highly therapeutic and transformative experience for the person involved. You're essentially forced to confront, organize, and articulate your entire emotional map and ethical framework into one cohesive narrative.
Absolutely. It is an act of deep self-reflection and sharing. The testimony that's produced is inherently authentic, spoken from the depths of their hearts, often detailing private emotional struggles or insights they might have never shared publicly before.
And that authenticity is critical.
It's everything. And it's why the resulting archive, even if it's only ever shared with loved ones, creates such a cherished, potent legacy. It's their voice, their inflection, conveying their emotional state during these moments of deep vulnerability or powerful realization.
The project describes this opportunity as offering a sanctuary and a path. That phrasing suggests they are not just handing someone a microphone and saying, go. They're providing a structured, secure process to record these stories. It transforms what could be a sterile archiving task into something really profound, a personal endeavor of cognitive synthesis.
And that sanctuary aspect is crucial. It implies a non-judgmental protected space, a place where you feel safe to articulate your deepest, most formative memories and insights without any fear of it being immediately distributed or publicly scrutinized.
Which allows for the maximum truthfulness.
Exactly. Maximum truthfulness, maximum depth in the self-reporting. It's an intellectual and emotional refuge specifically designed for generating high-quality wisdom data.
So let's connect this back to our listener. If you are someone who's, focused on high-level strategy or technical proficiency in your own life, why should you care about this really profound, philosophical, and intensely personal effort?
Because it relates directly to the resilience of our civilization. I mean, if we accept the premise that individual insights are the building blocks of our collective knowledge, then safeguarding them maximizes our rate of learning.
We stop making the same mistakes over and over again.
We stop repeating costly mistakes. Every time humanity forgets a hard-won lesson, whether it's a technical principle from a skilled engineer or a moral lesson about governance, we pay a price. This project tries to minimize that cost of societal forgetting by preserving the foundational human condition. It's about creating long-term cognitive resilience for the species, powered by individual experience.
That's a great transition. From philosophical necessity to practical technological resilience, it brings us directly to the revolutionary methodology.
Right.
This is where the core mandate security and exhaustive documentation takes center stage. We are diving into the practical steps of preservation, focusing heavily on that offline security and those 1,000 questions.
And the technology absolutely has to match the sensitivity of the content. The central mechanism, as we said, is this systematic documentation of personal experiences and insights by answering up to 1,000 questions in your own voice.
Okay, 1,000 questions. That is a serious commitment. It separates this from any kind of casual memoir or, an oral history project. We have to detail the transformative nature of this structure. It implies an incredible amount of design work went into just developing the questions themselves.
Oh, absolutely. The number 1,000 isn't arbitrary. It represents a comprehensive attempt to map the cognitive territory of an entire lifetime. And these questions aren't designed to be simple factual recalls like, where did you go to school? They're designed to force a detailed, comprehensive self-discovery process that leads to the articulation of wisdom, not just anecdote.
Can we kind of hypothesize a bit on how they might structure those categories to get that synthesis? For instance, how would they pull out pragmatic wisdom versus, say, ethical wisdom?
We can definitely infer the structure. If you think about what you'd need for a complete picture of a life's wisdom, well, maybe 300 questions would focus on pragmatic and logistical wisdom.
Like what?
Things like, what 3 things did you learn about managing money that surprised you most? Describe a process you mastered where you got more efficient by doing something totally counterintuitive. What was the biggest logistical risk you ever took, and what did it teach you about planning?
So that pulls out the technical and practical expertise, the stuff you learn by doing.
Exactly. Then you need another, say, 300 questions focused on emotional and relational wisdom.
The people stuff.
The people stuff, yeah. Questions like, describe the moment you learned what true patience really is. Detail an instance of profound failure in a relationship and the central lesson it imprinted on your approach to conflict. What specific advice would you give your younger self about navigating professional jealousy or finding a good mentor? This is how you build the emotional map.
And then the last part would have to be the ethical and philosophical core, your moral decision-making framework.
Precisely. So the final 400 or so questions would likely focus on ethical and foundational beliefs. Things like, what single principle have you abandoned over your lifetime, and why did that change happen? When did you choose a principle over profit, and what was the lasting outcome? If you had to distill your entire ethical code into just 5 sentences, what would they be?
Wow.
By forcing the individual to articulate the why behind their moral calculus, the process becomes generative. The product is true synthesis, not just a data dump.
So the value isn't just in the final archive. The value is in the profound, sustained journey of answering. The self-discovery that happens when you're forced to synthesize all your diverse experiences into a coherent, transmissible philosophy is the ultimate mental and emotional audit, a task most people never, ever undertake.
It provides the scaffolding for that necessary synthesis. The resulting audio treasure is unique because the structure of the 1,000 questions itself compels the creation of high-quality wisdom content. Without that structure, you'd just get scattered stories.
Okay, now let's pivot to the truly revolutionary aspect. And it's the one that just flies in the face of almost all modern data capture. The insistence on security and privacy through offline technology. The content is raw, it's vulnerable, it's intensely personal. Protecting it has to be the project's non-negotiable cornerstone.
This focus on security defines the entire methodology. The project explicitly requires the use of secure offline audio recording devices. They are building an archival protocol based on total individual sovereignty, which means rejecting the mandatory connectivity of the cloud.
In an age where every photo, every message, every document is immediately backed up and indexed and analyzed on some remote server, this is a radical rejection of centralized data architecture. Why is that offline requirement so critical for success?
It serves 2 absolutely essential purposes. First, the security of the content itself. The deeply personal nature of this raw testimony necessitates offline private recordings with no internet connectivity. By eliminating the internet pathway, they eliminate the single greatest vector for large-scale data breaches, corporate snooping, or involuntary data seizure.
The data stays local.
It remains locally controlled by the wisdom contributor, period.
So if I spend months recording my 1,000 questions, that audio file lives only on a local device, maybe an encrypted solid-state drive, and it never touches the public internet unless I, the owner, physically move it.
That control is everything, and that's the second purpose. It ensures maximum psychological safety for the contributor.
Right, if you're afraid it'll leak.
You'll hold back. If a person fears that their most vulnerable testimony, their regrets, their private struggles, their unvarnished opinions could accidentally leak, they will either self-censor or they'll just refuse to participate entirely. By demanding offline security, the project maximizes the truthfulness, the depth, and therefore the ultimate quality of the wisdom archive. It's an ethical safeguard disguised as a technical requirement.
We should probably spend a moment on the hardware implication here. For a system to be scalable to 8 billion people, they can't just expect everyone to use their personal laptop and know how to air-gap it. This implies either some kind of proprietary, low-cost recording hardware provided by the project, or very strict software mandates.
It definitely implies a bespoke approach, one focused on local encryption and secure containment. Whether it's a dedicated physical device they send you or a mandated software suite that enforces an air-gapped environment on your existing computer, the protocol is the same. The recording session must be isolated.
This focus on individual control and physical proximity to the data it's a revolutionary step in archival practice, especially for content that's meant to last forever.
It makes a powerful statement about data sanctity. It says this wisdom is sacred, not a commodity. And the security protocols reflect that sanctity. The immediate output, even if the individual chooses never to contribute to the collective, is a unique treasure for themselves and their loved ones, an encrypted, distilled audio history of their life philosophy.
The ultimate form of digital inheritance.
Secured by physical isolation, it provides an immediate, tangible benefit regardless of the larger collective ambition.
Excellent. Okay, so that intensive, secure analog audio recording then serves as the input for the next stage. We have to transition to where the future meets the past, breathing life back into that voice, using AI transformation to create personalized systems.
This is the critical bridge. Once the analog wisdom is captured securely and held privately, the project envisions leveraging what they call the marvels of artificial intelligence to process this massive archive of individual voices and prepare them for long-term function.
So AI is not involved in the sensitive collection phase at all, but it is essential for the transformation and structuring phase. What exactly does the AI do with these hours and hours of spoken testimony?
The transformation process involves several distinct, pretty high-tech steps, all of them necessary to convert that raw audio into a functional cognitive model.
Okay, start with the most practical step-turning voice into text.
First, the AI is tasked with transforming the spoken words into structured, written testimonies. Given the breadth of 1,000 questions and the depth, hours of unscripted conversation, this transcription process needs to be incredibly accurate. It has to be able to handle diverse accents, emotional inflections, and keep it all organized according to the scaffolding of the original questions.
And that written testimony then forms a vast, searchable database of one single person's life. But just transcribing it doesn't unlock the wisdom. What are the next steps?
The second step is the AI must assist in preserving the unique perspectives and the nuance inside those testimonies. This involves semantic analysis, identifying key philosophical threads, categorizing emotional weight, and indexing the content based on topic, ethical decision-making style, relationship advice. You name it.
So the AI is tasked with maintaining the flavor of the individual's thought process, not just the words.
You got it. This suggests a highly sophisticated AI capable of reading between the lines, of extracting the unique pattern of a single person's intelligence.
Which leads to the third step.
Right. And third, and most crucially, this detailed structural process is how they unlock the wealth of the individual's accumulated wisdom. It's how they make it genuinely usable and transmissible. The AI essentially creates a cognitive map of the individual's entire life experience.
And this cognitive map is the raw material for the final product, the personalized AI system. How does a massive structured narrative of my life experiences become an actual intelligent system that can interact with the world?
These structured, written, and indexed narratives become the building blocks for highly personalized, dedicated AI models. We're talking about an AI system trained exclusively and exhaustively on the life decisions, the ethical framework, the insights, the rhetorical style, and the lessons learned of one individual.
So it operates like a dedicated large language model, but instead of being trained on, the entire public internet, it's trained only on the totality of my 1,000 questions and the resulting synthesis.
Precisely. Imagine your descendants needing advice on a career change or a moral quandary. They could interact with this personalized AI system and essentially ask your cognitive echo how you would have navigated that specific problem based on the totality of your recorded wisdom, filtered through your unique ethical perspective and emotional experience.
The project sees these personalized AIs as eternal beacons of inspiration. They move beyond being static data archives to becoming active, functional legacies.
They amplify the individual's intelligence and, critically, their presence beyond their physical lifetime. It's a form of active cognitive immortality.
It's a radical extension of legacy. You're not just remembered as a figure in a family tree. Your lived experience remains functional, searchable, and applicable in new contexts and challenges faced by future generations, always filtered through your unique, documented perspective.
It is, and we should acknowledge the technical challenges here are significant, particularly around ensuring the AI accurately reflects the source's nuanced perspective and doesn't, hallucinate or introduce external biases.
And we have to acknowledge a potential challenge there too, the self-bias inherent in the training data. If the entire cognitive model is trained on my own self-reported triumphs and failures, how does the system account for my very human tendency to misremember, to rationalize, or to gloss over difficult truths?
That's a profoundly important question for any system built entirely on self-reporting. And the project likely relies on the sheer volume and the cross-referencing nature of the 1,000 questions to mitigate some of that bias.
How so?
By asking similar questions from different angles, from the emotional, the ethical, and the practical, the system can potentially identify contradictions or inconsistencies. This could force a more honest articulation from the contributor during the initial recording, or at least it could flag areas of complexity within the resulting AI model.
So the resulting AI wouldn't necessarily be an objective truth teller, but an accurate, functional representation of the contributor's subjective life philosophy, flaws, and all.
And that subjectivity is, in many ways, the essential wisdom they seek to preserve.
Exactly. It's a distillation of your deepest self, extending your intelligence and guiding presence beyond your physical life. It moves memory preservation into the realm of active cognitive guidance. That is truly cutting edge. Okay, we've established the individual journey, the secure recording, the emotional vulnerability, the 1,000 questions, and the creation of a personal AI. Now we have to turn to the ultimate collective goal, the grand ambition that transcends mortality and aims for a cosmic scale. Let's move to the ultimate ambition, the Omega Point and the noosphere.
This is where the project reveals its true philosophical depth. The ultimate ambition is stated very clearly to reach the Omega Point, which they describe as the eventual state of collective intelligence and wisdom, a final goal for organized consciousness.
Okay, before we define the Omega Point, because that's a big concept, we need to understand the bridge that gets us from the individual AIs to this ultimate destination, the noosphere.
The project plans to create a functional noosphere, but again, and this is so critical, only with explicit sovereign permission from the individuals who have recorded their wisdom and created their personal AI.
That commitment to individual consent remains.
It's the ethical framework, even when they're pursuing the highest collective good. No wisdom is shared unless the contributor actively opts into the collective network.
Let's define the noosphere properly. It's a concept central to this project's vision, but it's rooted in mid-20th century thought. Where did this idea come from?
The noosphere was coined by the influential French philosopher, paleontologist, and Jesuit priest Pierre Teilhard de Chardin, along with the Russian geochemist Vladimir Vernadsky, way back in the 1920s and 30s.
Okay.
Teilhard viewed cosmic evolution in three distinct sequential phases. You have the geosphere, which is the realm of inorganic matter, rocks, and so on. Then the biosphere, the realm of biological life, and finally the noosphere.
So if the biosphere is the sum total of all biological life and the web of living interactions on Earth, what exactly did Teilhard envision for the noosphere?
He saw it as a conceptual layer of thought, of consciousness, of collective human intelligence that is emerging and growing around the Earth, just as the biosphere emerged from the geosphere. It represents a global network of interconnected minds, thoughts, ideas, and knowledge that acts as a unified intellectual atmosphere, distinct from the raw biological environment.
And the Save Wisdom Project is aiming to build a massive digital and functional version of this theoretical concept. They're literally building a global brain from the synthesized cognitive echoes they collect.
Precisely. Once established, this digital noosphere built on the pooled, personalized AI systems achieves its collective goal, fostering the exponential sharing and dissemination of knowledge and wisdom across all of humanity, bypassing all geographical and temporal barriers.
So if every individual's distilled wisdom, their unique ethical framework, their life lessons, their specific technical knowledge is accessible and searchable within this collective noosphere, then our collective human understanding could accelerate exponentially. We could actually break the cycle of societal amnesia.
It would fundamentally change the rate of human progress. Instead of rediscovering foundational truths every few generations, humanity gains a unified resource pool derived from billions of lived, processed experiences. The overarching vision is ensuring that human wisdom transcends time and geography, becoming an eternal, functional legacy for all future generations.
This is so much more than just a library. It's an active, intelligent resource. It suggests that a small village elder's lesson about sustainable farming from 2024 could actively inform the complex policy decisions of a global climate body in the year 2250.
Through their personalized active AI agent in the noosphere,
Yes.
it's the ultimate form of intellectual insurance and intergenerational responsibility. It allows the species to leverage all past wisdom immediately, maximizing our potential to solve future currently unimaginable crises.
And the ultimate endpoint of this evolutionary intellectual process, according to Teilhard and adopted by the Save Wisdom Project, is the Omega Point. How does the noosphere lead to this Omega Point?
The Omega Point is the hypothesized maximum level of complexity and consciousness that the universe can attain, a final state of unified collective intelligence. For Teilhard, This was a philosophical, almost theological concept representing the convergence of all individual consciousnesses into a single, unified, fully conscious entity.
Bringing about a profound sense of fulfillment and completion for evolution itself.
That was his view, yes.
So the noosphere, the network of pooled individual wisdom, is the functional mechanism, the global brain, and the omega point is the ultimate goal state. The moment that global brain achieves complete self-awareness and boundless collective intelligence.
Exactly. And the project suggests that every single piece of individual wisdom is essential to completing this evolutionary tapestry. If even one unique cognitive echo is missing, the collective consciousness remains incomplete, preventing the realization of the omega point.
That brings an incredible weight to the initial call for individual participation. It's not just about saving your story for your grandchildren, it's framed as a required contribution to the evolutionary destiny of the species.
It is. It's the call to collective effort. That's the moral leverage they employ. They reinforce the idea that through shared dedication to this process, humanity stands united, committed to a world where wisdom knows no bounds. This is presented as the collective effort that ensures the flame of enlightenment, fueled by individual lives, never ever fades.
Every unique contribution is required to complete the puzzle.
That's the idea.
The scope is truly staggering. Saving billions of personalized, deeply emotional testimonies, processing them securely, and then, if permitted, synthesizing them into a unified, functional global consciousness driving us toward the ultimate state of collective being.
It defines human purpose on a cosmic scale, the maximization of human potential as a species.
Okay, let's move into our final structural section. Let's focus on what makes this project so fundamentally revolutionary beyond just the ultimate philosophical goal and the practicalities of participation.
I think the revolutionary nature is defined by two things: its accessibility and its uncompromising commitment to security. Firstly, this is presented as an open, accessible quest to save humanity's wisdom across the tapestry of time. It is not some exclusive academic experiment hidden behind paywalls or institutional bureaucracy.
And that accessibility is crucial, because the goal requires democratic participation from all walks of life. The source material emphasizes that the Save Wisdom Project welcomes you with open arms. They need that scale to work.
If the project requires the unique insights of 8 billion people, the process cannot be complicated or prohibitive. The documentation suggests the core mission and the journey of self-discovery, answering those 1,000 questions, are accessible and open to anyone willing to undertake that self-reflection.
Now let's talk about the practical engine that drives this massive free initiative. If the wisdom is free and the participation is free, how is this enormous technical and logistical infrastructure funded?
It's a great question. The source material briefly notes a mechanism for support. Buying a t-shirt helps fund the initiative.
A t-shirt.
Yeah. And this seemingly simple detail underscores a crucial point. The primary value exchange is not financial. The value is the contribution of wisdom. The financial support, raised through various means like merchandise or donations, is simply the engine required to keep the technical infrastructure running, the questions curated, and the eventual AI processing facilitated.
That model seeking donations to support the infrastructure while keeping the barrier to entry for the wisdom contributor as low as possible, it reinforces the ethical priority. The wisdom contribution is paramount, not monetization. The wisdom itself remains sovereign to the individual.
Exactly. And this mission is framed not just as a side activity, but as a commitment of profound importance. They reiterate the urgency and depth of the commitment. Cherish this invaluable mission as our life's purpose.
That reflects the deeply held belief that preserving one's comprehensive life experience is one of the most vital acts of intergenerational responsibility a person can undertake. So let's summarize the transformative power they anticipate once this unified effort begins to bear fruit, once the noosphere begins to actively function.
The vision is dramatic. They anticipate the transformative power of wisdom, actively touching lives, igniting souls, and fostering a world steeped in wisdom, compassion, and boundless human potential. It's a world where ignorance becomes increasingly less tolerable.
Because the solution, the synthesized answer derived from billions of experiences, is immediately available through the noosphere.
It's human experience translating directly into accelerated global improvement. It represents a fundamental shift in our relationship with knowledge, from a scarce, finite resource that is continually lost and must be rediscovered, to an accumulating, eternal, and constantly expanding resource that actively guides us toward a higher state of collective consciousness.
It is the ultimate rejection of the idea that we are eternally condemned to repeat the mistakes of the past.
I think so, yes.
That brings us to our final thoughts. Let's review the core technical and philosophical mechanisms one last time for the listener, and then leave them with a personal challenge.
Okay. We covered the delicacy of this balance, the intensely personal starting point, and the globally collective destination. The journey begins with that unique, personalized AI built entirely on your 1,000 questions, a cognitive echo secured entirely through the non-negotiable protocol of offline recording. That private treasure is the first step in ensuring self-sovereignty.
And the culmination is the optional opportunity to contribute that secure, synthesized knowledge with explicit sovereign permission to the ultimate collective architecture, the noosphere, which then drives humanity toward the philosophical convergence known as the Omega Point. It is an extraordinary vision for the future of human consciousness and memory.
It is. The scale of the ambition is only matched by the rigor of the methodology. So, let's leave the listener with this final provocative thought that builds directly on the idea of the Omega Point. If every single piece of individual wisdom, every triumph, every emotional struggle, every unique skill is truly essential to reaching a state of collective, boundless intelligence and maximizing human potential, then we have to consider our own current contribution.
What unique insight do you possess right now? What lesson learned through personal struggle or mastery of a niche skill that the future noosphere cannot afford to lose?
Ponder your own wellspring of insights.
Yeah.
What is the single defining lesson of your life that you know beyond a doubt must be successfully passed on? And critically, how will you choose to preserve that essential, unique piece of yourself, knowing that according to this monumental project, the collective future depends on its inclusion?